The great hall of Zeraphia was silent. Tall alien guards stood like statues, holding shining silver spears. 1,000 glowing eyes stared at the human standing in the middle. He looked calm on the outside, but his heart was beating fast. His name was Jace Carter, a young human ambassador from Earth. He had traveled millions of miles to this planet for peace talks. But he never expected the question that would change everything. The alien queen rose from her throne. She was tall, dressed in golden armor, and her eyes glowed like stars. Everyone in the room bowed except Jace. He stood straight, waiting for her to speak. She looked at him closely and said in a clear, cold voice, "Why don't you love my daughter, human?" Gasps filled the room. Even the translator in Jace's ear paused for a second. He blinked, surprised by the question. His eyes slowly moved toward the queen's daughter, Princess Leora. She stood beside the throne. She was breathtaking, skin like silver, hair like white fire, eyes that seemed to look into the soul. She didn't smile, but she watched Jace carefully, waiting. Jace took a breath and said softly, "She's too beautiful." The hall became quiet again. Whispers stopped. The queen narrowed her eyes, not angry, but interested. No one had expected that answer, not even Leora. Jace lowered his gaze and thought back to when he first arrived here. 2 weeks ago, everything seemed simple. A mission for peace between Earth and Zeraphia. He was chosen because he could stay calm, understand alien culture, and speak well. But nothing was simple here. From the first day, Leora started visiting him. She would appear in his room without warning. She brought strange gifts, glowing plants, liquid stars, music in crystal form. She asked him about Earth, his life, his feelings. At first, Jace thought it was normal. Maybe cultural exchange, but soon, he started feeling strange every time she touched him. His heart beat faster, not because of love, but something deeper, something he couldn't explain. He started having dreams. In one dream, he was marrying her under a sky full of stars. In another, he was standing on a burning earth, Leora beside him, smiling. It was beautiful and terrifying. He tried telling the ship's science officer, but the connection was weak. Still, the officer warned him. "Her species has strange powers, Jace. Be careful." Jace began to act. He smiled at Leora, listened to her, but kept his mind guarded. He noticed patterns. She always touched him before he felt weak. She never ate food, never showed emotion unless it was around him. Then one night, she whispered something strange. "Don't trust my mother." That was the moment Jace knew something was very wrong. The queen wasn't offering her daughter out of kindness or love. There was a reason, a plan, and Jace was part of it. Back in the present, after his answer, the queen spoke again. "Too beautiful?" "That is not a reason." Jace looked at her and replied. "That kind of beauty feels like a cage, not freedom." The queen smiled slowly. "Interesting," she said. Then she waved her hand. The guards stepped back and the crowd was dismissed. Only a few people remained: Jace, the queen, and her daughter. The queen walked closer, her eyes never blinking. "My daughter chose you. You are special, human, more than you know." She touched his shoulder, and for a second, he felt a cold wave in his mind, like something trying to read his thoughts. He stepped back quickly. "I came for peace, not marriage," he said firmly. The queen laughed softly. "Peace and love are not so different. You'll understand soon." As she turned to leave, Leora looked at Jace one more time. Her eyes didn't glow this time. They looked sad. She mouthed something silently, but Jace couldn't read her lips. He stood there, alone in the silent hall. His mission was falling apart. He didn't know what the queen truly wanted. He didn't know what Leora truly felt, but he knew one thing. He had to find the truth, no matter how beautiful the lie looked. Jace didn't sleep that night. He sat near the wide crystal window of his chamber, watching the twin moons of Zeraphia move slowly across the dark sky. The queen's question echoed in his head again and again. "Why don't you love my daughter, human?" He couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't about love. It was about control, about power, and about Earth. The stars outside were beautiful, but Jace didn't trust beauty anymore. Not after what Leora said. Don't trust my mother. What did she mean? Why did the Queen want him to marry her daughter? Why him of all people? He reached into his bag and pulled out a tiny silver cube, a communicator. He pressed a button and whispered, "Ship AI, this is Jace Carter. Please connect me to Dr. Langley. Priority Alpha." Static crackled in his ear for a moment, then a voice came through, tired but alert. "Jace, you okay? You sound tense." "Langley, I need answers," he whispered. "I think they're trying to use me, maybe." Through her, Dr. Langley was the chief science officer on the human ship orbiting the planet. A calm, sharp woman who had studied alien psychology for decades. She paused before replying. "We've been observing some odd neural patterns, Jace. Her species uses something called empathic binding. It's not exactly mind control, but it's close." Jace stood up, heart pounding. "What does it do?" "It makes you want to trust them, want to love them. Your brain fills in the blanks," she said, like a chemical romance. He closed his eyes, remembering how he felt when Leora touched his arm. The warmth, the soft voice, the beautiful dreams. It hadn't been natural, it had been designed, Langley continued. "We've run simulations. Her signals trigger the same brainwaves as deep love. That's why you feel like this," Jace whispered. "So it's not real." Langley didn't answer that part. "If she bonds with you, it might give her access to human neural data, Earth defense codes, memories, anything stored in your cognitive implants." Jace's chest tightened. He looked again at the glowing city below. He had to act carefully. One wrong move, and Earth could be wide open. The next day, he met Leora in the Garden of Stars, a quiet place where silver trees hummed softly and small glowing creatures floated through the air. She smiled when she saw him. "You came," he nodded. "You asked me not to trust your mother. Why?" She looked down, her hands gently touching a glowing flower. "Because I'm not like her," she said softly. "I was made different." Jace tilted his head. "Made?" She nodded, her voice low. "I'm not a natural-born Zarathian. I was created in the biolabs, a hybrid." "Of what?" he asked, even though he already knew the answer. "Human and Zarathian," she said, looking up at him. "They used human DNA from old samples hundreds of years ago." His legs felt weak. This wasn't just diplomacy anymore. It was bioweapons testing. They had built the perfect human trap and given it a face of impossible beauty. Leora walked closer. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I didn't choose this, Jace, but I've seen your dreams. I know you've seen mine too. You think I'm dangerous, and maybe I am, but I've also felt something strange. When I touched you last time, I felt fear." Jace didn't move. "Fear of what?" "Of me," she whispered. "And fear of wanting me." His heart skipped. He hated that she was right. He did want her, somewhere deep down. But not because he chose to. It was because they made her this way. He looked at her closely. She looked like someone fighting a war inside herself. Part human, part alien, part weapon, but maybe, just maybe, she wanted to be free of it too. "Then help me," he said. "If you really feel something, help me find the truth." She nodded slowly, then reached into her dress and pulled out a small glowing crystal. "This holds secret data," she whispered. "Plans my mother keeps hidden about Earth. About you." Jace took it carefully. "Why give this to me?" She looked into his eyes. "Because maybe. I want you to love me for real, not because of what I am, but because of who I am." He didn't answer. He couldn't, not yet, not until he knew the whole truth. That night, back in his room, he inserted the crystal into his device. A map opened, showing underground labs, secret files, human test subjects, dream simulation networks, psychic link plans. But the worst was at the end. A file labeled Project Edenfall, Full Control Protocol. He opened it, and his blood ran cold. It was a plan to link his brain to the Earth Global Defense Network. Through empathic marriage, once bonded, they could shut down all of Earth's shields from his mind. Suddenly, his chamber lights flickered. A shadow moved at the door. He grabbed the crystal and hid it fast. A voice came from outside. "Jace." "Carter, the Queen requests your presence." He stood still for a moment, then slowly walked to the door. He knew now this wasn't about love or beauty or peace. It was about the human mind and who controlled it, and he was the key. Jace followed the silver-armored guards through the long glowing halls of Zarephia's royal tower. His heart was heavy. He now knew the truth. The Queen wasn't just seeking peace. She wanted control. She wanted him to be the backdoor key to Earth, a quiet weapon wrapped in a wedding ring. The guards didn't speak. They marched ahead like machines, cold, tall, and loyal to their queen. But Jace's mind wasn't focused on them. He was thinking about Leora. She had warned him. She had helped him, and yet she was still part of the system. He had to know who she truly was. Was she his enemy, or just a prisoner in a golden cage? The doors opened, and he entered a quiet chamber made of crystal and light. The Queen stood near a round table, staring at a star map of Earth's solar system. "Human," she said without looking up. "You were warned not to dig too deep." Jace didn't reply. He stood still, watching her. The Queen turned and smiled, but her eyes held no warmth. "My daughter has become emotional. That is a flaw or a strength," Jace replied calmly. The Queen stepped closer. "You don't understand. Her emotions are your weakness too. You will give in, like the others." "Others?" Jace asked. Her silence said everything. He clenched his jaw. "How many before me?" She walked back to the star map. 17 attempts, she said softly. Only 3 survived bonding. All of them failed to give full access, because humans don't fall in love like machines, Jace said, his voice sharper now. "You can't just build a perfect partner and expect obedience." She laughed lightly. "Can't I?" Before he could respond, Leora entered the chamber. Her hair was glowing slightly, her steps silent like air, but her eyes were wide with worry. "Mother, please," she said. "Let me speak to him alone." The Queen hesitated, then nodded. "You have 5 minutes after that." "He belongs to the program." She walked out, and the crystal doors closed behind her. Jace turned to Leora. "You knew about Edenfall," he said. She nodded slowly. "Yes, but I didn't know you would be chosen." "Why did you help me?" He asked. "If you're part of the trap." She took a deep breath, her hands shaking. "Because I don't want to be a weapon anymore." Jace stared at her. "You said you were created with human DNA. Is that why you feel guilt?" She walked to the table and touched the glowing earth. "I see memories that aren't mine. Pictures of oceans, laughter, childhood. A mother holding her child, not a queen, but a woman." She looked at him with watery eyes. "Sometimes I cry and I don't know why. I feel things no Zarephian was built to feel." Jace felt a strange ache in his chest. This girl, this half-human, was fighting a war inside her mind. A war between programming and personality, between purpose and choice. "You were made to control humans," he said. "But what if you choose not to?" She walked closer. "Then I become nothing if I don't obey my mother. She shut down my neural core. I'll stop existing." Jace frowned. "She can do that?" Leora nodded. "She controls all hybrids. One command and I'm gone." "Then run," he said quickly. "Come with me, I'll protect you." Leora smiled faintly. "I can't run, but maybe I can resist." She placed something small into Jace's hand, a silver ring. "This is a neural blocker. If I wear it, my signals to your brain are cut. You'll feel nothing from me." He looked at it in silence. "Then wear it." She hesitated. "If I do, I won't know what you feel either. Not even a heartbeat, not even a smile." He gently placed the ring in her hand. "That's the only way I'll ever trust anything between us." She looked at the ring for a long time, then slowly slid it onto her finger. The moment she did, something changed. Her glow dimmed, her voice cracked, and she nearly collapsed. Jace caught her, holding her as her body trembled. What's happening? The emotions. They're real now, she whispered. They're not controlled anymore. He helped her sit down. She looked up at him with wide, honest eyes. Tell me something true. Jace, he paused, then answered, I was scared of you, but now I'm scared for you. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then an alarm echoed through the palace. Red lights flashed, a mechanical voice shouted, unauthorized signal detected. Intruder breach in Sector 9. Liara's face went pale. She knows. Jace stood up. We have to get out of here. Liara nodded. There's one place she can't track us, the Vault of Origins. Where is it? She looked at him with fire in her eyes now. Beneath the palace, behind the lie that started this empire. Together, they ran toward the exit, the doors closing behind them as sirens screamed across the city. The Queen's voice echoed over the speaker system. Find the human and bring my daughter home. But it was too late. For the first time, Liara wasn't her mother's creation. She was her own. And now, she had a secret, a soul, and a human's hope. Asterisk, the ground beneath the palace was cold, dark and breathing. Not literally, but that's what it felt like to Jace. As if the walls were alive, remembering every step they had swallowed, every secret they still held. Liara guided him through the tunnels. They moved fast under flickering lights, through twisting corridors made of black stone and humming wires. This was the underbelly of Zeraphia, a place no ambassador had ever seen, a place no human was supposed to survive. Behind them, alarms still echoed above. Guards searched the palace. The Queen's voice gave commands in a language that cracked like ice, but they couldn't reach here. Not yet. Jace kept looking around. Where are you taking me? He whispered. To the place where the lies began, Liara replied, her voice tight with emotion. The Vault of Origins. They stopped at a large, circular door made of deep red crystal. No buttons, no keypads, just silence and the low hum of something ancient waiting behind it. Liara placed her hand on the surface. A flash of light passed through her skin, scanning her DNA. Then, with a low groan, the door opened, revealing a massive chamber below. Jace stepped in slowly and froze. Rows of glass tubes lined the walls. Dozens, maybe hundreds, each one holding a shape, a figure, a human, suspended in some kind of blue fluid. What is this? He whispered. Liara walked in behind him, her voice shaking. They called them ambassador seeds. Humans taken or grown from old Earth samples, used for bonding trials, diplomacy clones, breeding vessels. Jace felt sick. He stared at the still faces inside the glass. Some male, some female, all human, all stolen. Your mother didn't just want to control Earth, he said, his voice cold. She wanted to replace it. Liara nodded, tears forming in her eyes. I found this place 2 years ago. That's when I started to break. That's when I realized I wasn't her daughter. She led him deeper into the vault. At the center stood a giant machine, like a throne made of bone and wires. A single chair sat at the heart, covered in cables that reached up like black vines. What is that? Jace asked, stepping closer. It's the interface throne, Liara said softly. It links a bonded human's mind to Zeraphia's core system. If you sat there, Earth's defenses would be like an open book. Jace stepped back. And that's what she wants from me. Yes, Liara whispered. But it's worse. She pressed a panel on the side of the machine. A hologram opened, an old file with Earth's name stamped across it. Project Edenfall. Phase 2 target date. Active bonding -72. Hours primary host, Jace Carter, Earthborn human. He stared at it in disbelief. They've already chosen me. Liara looked at him. You're not just a guest here, Jace. You're the final piece. The ground shook suddenly. Sparks flew from the walls. An explosion above, followed by voices and heavy steps. The Queen's forces were coming. Jace turned to Liara. We need to destroy this place. She nodded. There's a core switch. Beneath the throne, pull it, and the system collapses. Jace climbed onto the platform. As he reached for the switch, he paused. He looked one more time at the sleeping faces inside the glass tubes. Can they be saved? He asked. Liara's eyes softened. I don't know. Some were never born fully. Some are just data ghosts. But some might still be real. Jace clenched his jaw. Then I'm not leaving them behind. He activated a backup signal on his wrist. A short encrypted message sent straight to the human ship orbiting above. This is Carter. Found the vault. Prepare evac for survivors. A voice responded. Copy that. Drop team inbound. ETA 9 minutes. But 9 minutes was too long. The guards were already outside, pounding on the red crystal door. Liara looked at him. We don't have time. Jace grabbed her hand. Then we hold them off. She hesitated. Then pulled a hidden weapon from her belt. A curved energy blade. You fight like a human, she said. But now I fight like someone who finally knows who she is. Together. They stood in front of the vault's main platform as the door exploded open. Flames and smoke filled the chamber. Elite guards rushed in, armored in obsidian and fire. Jace raised his pulse rifle. Let's show them what freedom looks like. The battle was fierce. Blades clashed. Lasers burned through air. Jace moved with skill. But Liara moved like lightning, her blade a blur, her face fierce with purpose. One by one, the guards fell, but more kept coming. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang out from the smoke. Stop! The queen stepped through the chaos, untouched behind. Her stood more soldiers, and behind them, a strange, dark machine that pulsed with red light. You've gone far enough, she said coldly. Give me the human, and I will spare your life, daughter. Liara's voice shook, but she didn't lower her blade. I'm not your daughter. The queen stepped closer. Then you're nothing. Liara took a deep breath. Then I'll be nothing and free. Jace pulled the core switch. A deep rumble shook the ground. The throne began to spark and burn. The tubes flickered. The data system screamed. The queen screamed too. No. Liara rushed to Jace and grabbed his hand as the room began collapsing around them. The drop team's here, he shouted. A blue beam of light shot down from the sky. Teleport field. As the room exploded behind them, Jace and Liara vanished in light, leaving behind a burning vault, a broken throne, and the death of the queen's perfect plan. The stars burned red that night. From space, Zeraphia looked peaceful, glowing cities, silver oceans, perfect symmetry. But above the planet, just outside its atmosphere, Earth's flagship carrier floated like a silent giant. Its name was the Valkyrie. And it was not here to talk anymore. Inside the command room, alarms flashed red. Admiral Rias stared at the screen, watching the video Jace had sent from the vault. The Queen's plan, the hidden army, the interface throne, it was all real. He turned to his officers. Prepare the Iron Protocol, he said. No one messes with Earth's mind. Dozens of drones lit up, engines roared to life, and weapon systems came online. Earth's fleet wasn't here to conquer, but it was built for moments like this, when peace was a lie, and war was the only truth. Far below, on the dark surface of Zeraphia, Jace and Liara sat inside a small metal room, a refugee pod hidden deep in the jungle valley. They had escaped the Queen, but they were still not safe. Liara stared out the small window, watching smoke rise from the palace ruins. Her voice was quiet. My mother will not accept defeat. Jace nodded, holding a bandage to his arm. And Earth won't forgive her. Liara turned to him, her expression torn between pain and pride. This war, it's my fault too. Jace shook his head. No, you didn't choose to be a weapon, but now you chose to fight back. That makes you human to me. She looked down. Then maybe I'm ready to bleed like one. A knock echoed on the door. The pod opened, and Earth soldiers entered, led by a woman in sleek armor. Commander Lin. She nodded at Jace. Good to see you alive, Ambassador. Jace stood, ignoring the pain in his side. We need to talk. They moved to a nearby command tent, Holograms lit up, showing maps of Zaraphia's power grid, fleet hangars, and underground. Labs Commander Lin spoke first. Our scans picked up new energy readings under the palace ruins. It looks like the Queen activated something big. Leora looked at the data, her face going pale. It's the Core Legion, a hidden army made of psionic hybrids and mech-born warriors. The Queen's last defense. Jay stepped forward. Then we strike first. Before she unleashes them. The commander raised an eyebrow. You're an ambassador, not a soldier. And Earth sent me to make peace, he said. But sometimes, peace needs teeth. Inside the Queen's war chamber, deep below the surface, the Queen stood surrounded by her last creations, tall silver-armored beings with glowing red eyes and no mouths. Each one held weapons built into their arms, powered by neural storms. A technician approached her nervously. Your Majesty, Earth's ships are charging weapons. The Queen didn't flinch. Let them, she said. Activate the Legion. Begin the psychic pulse across their fleet. We'll break their minds before they press fire. She turned and looked at an empty space beside her throne, Leora's place, now cold and forgotten. My daughter chose the wrong side, she whispered. Now let her see what it means to betray the crown. Back on Earth's flagship, codes were exchanged, orders were given, but in the middle of it all, Jay stood silent, staring at the image of Zaraphia. He didn't want to destroy it, not the people, not the cities, not even the Queen's broken dream. There has to be another way, he said quietly. Leora came beside him. I know her mind. There's only one way she stopped. Jace turned. Tell me. She looked him in the eyes. Let me talk to her one last time. Commander Lin stepped forward. Absolutely. Not, she'll kill you, or worse. But Jace nodded slowly. Maybe she won't. If Leora dies by her hand, the Queen loses more than a weapon. She loses her only creation that chose freedom, Lin sighed. If you're wrong, Earth loses its best asset. If I'm right, Jay said, ***, we all win something bigger. The dropship descended fast, slicing through clouds like a blade. Leora sat beside Jace in silence, her fingers wrapped around a small glowing shard, a piece of her neural core, the only thing that kept her alive. If removed, her mind would collapse, but she was willing. Jace looked at her. You don't have to die to be human, she smiled faintly. Maybe not, but sometimes humans die for what they believe. The ship landed at the ruins of the royal vault. Smoke and silence greeted them. The Queen stood in the center of the wreckage, her golden armor now dark with ash. She turned slowly as they approached, her voice sharp. You dare return. Leora stepped forward alone. I came to end this, not with weapons, but with choice. She held out the shard. End your control. Let us be free, or watch your legacy fall alone. The Queen stared at her in silence. The hybrid warriors behind her raised their weapons. For a moment, everything froze. Then she laughed, not a happy laugh, a bitter, broken one. You think love is enough, she said. You think humans will forgive you. Leora's voice was calm. I don't need forgiveness. I only need freedom. The Queen raised her hand, about to give the command to fire, but then she hesitated. She looked into her daughter's eyes, and for the first time saw herself. Not the Queen, not the scientist, not the tyrant, just a mother who lost everything she tried to build. Her hand trembled. Go, she whispered. Leave this place. Jay stepped beside Leora. And if we return? The Queen turned away. Then come with fire, and may your love be stronger than mine. They left in silence. No guns fired, no armies clashed, but something far more powerful had happened that day. The battle had begun, not with weapons, but with choice. Zaraphia didn't fall in fire, it fell in silence. Days after the confrontation, the Queen vanished from the throne. Her voice no longer echoed through the silver towers. No commands, no punishments. Number orders. The capital city, once so perfect, had become still. As if holding its breath, The control network had collapsed, the neural bond that connected hybrids. Drones and citizens broken. For the first time in their lives, the people of Zeraphia were truly alone. Some wept, some screamed, but most just stood still, not knowing what to do without a mind telling them how to feel. Far from the city, inside a quiet Earth outpost built in the ruins, Jace sat beside Leora. She was lying on a biobed, eyes closed, but not asleep, just disconnected. He looked at her face, peaceful, delicate, glowing under soft lights. Too perfect, too flawless, so much that it hurt to believe she was real. A doctor walked in and whispered, "She hasn't moved for 12 hours. Her neural core is stabilizing, but her mind, it's in shutdown, like a coma?" Jace asked. "Not exactly. She's not unconscious. She's just trying to feel without being programmed." Jace looked back at her. He remembered the first time she touched him. The confusion, the dreams, the magnetic pull. At that time, it felt fake. Now it felt empty. Was love real? Was she real? Or just a beautiful illusion built to test his heart? He leaned closer. "Leora, I know you can hear me," he whispered. "You asked me to love the real you, but I don't know who that is yet." He took her hand gently. "And maybe you don't know either." Inside her mind, Leora floated in a world of white. No sound, no sky, just memories flickering like glass around her. She saw herself as a child, learning Earth languages in a cold lab. Her mother, the Queen, standing behind the glass, watching like a scientist, never smiling, never holding her. Only testing, always testing. She saw Jace too, their first meeting. Their first touch, the moment she kissed him and felt something unexpected. Something the scientist hadn't programmed. Fear, weakness, longing. She spoke softly to the void. "If I wasn't built to feel, why does it hurt now?" No answer came, just silence. But this time, it felt like her own silence. Not her mother's, not the system's, hers. She opened her eyes back in the outpost. Jace felt her fingers move. He looked down and saw her staring up at him, confused, but aware. "You came back," she whispered, voice dry and soft. Jace smiled faintly. "I was starting to think you wouldn't." She sat up slowly, looked at her hands. Her arms, her skin. "Everything feels different. Because it's real now," Jace said. "No network telling you what to feel." She nodded. "I can't hear anyone anymore, not even my mother. Would you want to?" He asked. She paused. "A part of me still misses her. Isn't that strange?" "That's human," he replied. "We grieve even for people who broke us." She looked at him carefully. "And what about me, Jace? Do you still think I'm too beautiful?" He blinked, remembering the Queen's courtroom, that very first question. "Why don't you love my daughter, human?" And his answer, "She's too beautiful." Now sitting here in front of her, pale, tired, lost, she looked more real than ever, more fragile, more alive. "You're still beautiful," he said slowly, "but not because of how you look. Because you chose pain, you chose truth." She reached for his hand, but this time, nothing pulled at his mind, no dreams, no false warmth, just touch, just her. "So what now?" she asked. Before he could answer, Commander Lin entered the room. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, "but we have a problem." They followed her to the main screen. A new transmission had come from deep space, encrypted, alien, but readable. It was a call for revenge. One of the Queen's hidden war colonies had activated, and they weren't interested in talking. Lin crossed her arms. "We stopped a weapon, but we didn't kill the idea." Jace looked at Leora. She met his eyes without fear. "Then maybe I should lead the message this time. You think they'll listen to you?" Lin asked. "You're one of them." "No," Leora said quietly. "I'm one of you now." Later that night, Jace stood outside under the Zeraphian sky. He looked at the stars, bright, endless, full of danger and wonder. Leora walked beside him for a moment. They just stood in silence. Then she said, "I still don't know who I am." "That's okay," Jace replied. "Neither do most humans." She smiled for the first time, not a programmed smile. Not a perfect one, but a real one. Then maybe I'm finally ready to find out. Asterisk. They stood at the edge of the platform. Above them, the stars blinked like old memories. Below them, the last army of the Queen's Empire approached. 50 warships, all loyal to a name that no longer ruled. Each ship carried weapons strong enough to destroy cities, and minds trained to resist emotion. But in front of them, waiting in silence, was not Earth's fleet. Not missiles, not fire, only one ship, only one voice, Leora. She stood at the center of the Seraphian transmission tower, wearing no armor, no crown, no glowing lights, just a simple gray robe and a calm face. No longer a princess, no longer a weapon, just someone who had chosen to be real. Jay stood behind her, quiet. This wasn't his fight anymore, it was hers, and somehow that meant everything. Across space, the warships received her broadcast. Millions of minds tuned in, expecting orders, expecting commands from the bloodline of Serapha. But instead, they heard this: I am not your queen. I am not your controller. Or your code. I am the result of a lie. A system that made us believe we were only strong when we were not free. But I've tasted something else now. Weakness, pain, love. And I choose them. Her voice echoed across the U channels, soft but unshaken. You have never been asked what you want. So now I ask, will you follow commands from a ghost? Or will you choose for the first time to be more than the system made you? There was silence for 1 second, then 2, then the largest warship powered down its weapons, then another, and another, until like falling stars, the entire fleet began to dim. Their lights faded to a soft glow. Their threat melted into stillness. Not a single shot was fired. Back on the ground, Commander Lin watched the radar. Her officers stared in disbelief. They're not attacking, someone whispered. She actually did it. Lin exhaled slowly, then said to no one in particular, that girl may have saved us more than 1,000 guns ever could. Leora stepped down from the tower, her knees trembling. Jace rushed forward to hold her steady. You did it, he whispered. You ended the war without a fight. She smiled faintly. I didn't end it. They did when they chose. He helped her into the corridor as soldiers and officers moved past them. Some saluted. Others just looked at her. Not as a leader, but as a mirror. One who had broken free from control. And let others believe they could too. 3 days later, the Queen's body was found. Alone in her throne room, she had left no message, just one open file on her datapad. A photograph of Leora as a child, smiling, back when she still thought love was something you could program. Jace stood in the room quietly. He didn't feel anger, just sadness. A powerful woman had tried to control the galaxy and lost. Not to violence, but to the thing she feared most, choice. A ceremony was held under the twin moons. Earth's flags waved beside Seraphian banners. Peace treaties were signed. Systems were reconnected. Freedom, for the first time, was not a threat, but a future. Leora stood before the gathering and gave her title away. She asked not to be called a queen, not even a leader, just a citizen of a new world. Jace watched from the crowd, heart full but unsure. The mission was over. And now Earth was calling him back. That evening, on the quiet hill outside the city, he found Leora standing alone, staring at the stars. She turned when she heard him. Leaving tomorrow? He nodded. That's the plan. She stepped closer. Will you come back? Jace looked at her. She no longer glowed. Her eyes were soft, not sharp, her voice uncertain, not controlled. And in that moment, she was more beautiful than ever. Because she wasn't built to be loved anymore. She was just loved. He smiled. Only if you want me to. She reached out, gently, took his hand without pulling on his mind. Just warmth, just skin. Not because of the mission, she said. Not because of my beauty, but because it's your choice. He nodded. Then I choose yes. The wind passed softly between them. Not a storm, not silence, just peace. And for the first time in the stars between two worlds, there was no need for power, no need for lies, just a human, just someone who had once been made to be loved, and now loved for who she became.